Hey gorgeous, welcome to my channel. Today I have a really fun video for you. It is time for me to reset these planters that I have here in the front of the house. The temperatures here in central Indiana have been a little bit high and the plants that I have in these containers are definitely struggling. I purchased all of these plants, the daffodils, the ranunculus, stock, pansies, creeping flags. I purchased all of these locally earlier in the year and I put these planters together a couple of months ago and they have been doing amazing. I'm actually really surprised on how well the ranunculus and the stock work together. This is my first year purchasing stock and I am really happy on how they develop, how they stay really nice and cool. Even when we had some really low temperatures like in the 20s, these plants just perform really well. I did not cover them, I did not protect them from those temperatures, and I'm really surprised on how well they did. Originally, I wanted to reuse these obelisks for the summertime, but because of the new plants that I am using being a little bit tall, I am just going to use something slightly different. If you want to know where I got these obelisks, these are metal and these are actually great quality, surprisingly, and they came from Amazon. They are about $50 or so. I am going to add links below in the video's description if you want to look into them. I really like them because they're big and I can fold them flat, and for storage they are a great investment. The plants that I have here are mostly annual, so I am getting rid of all of them except the creeping flags. I do have 3 plants on each planter of creeping flags. They bloom a nice light lavender blue color, and those are going to be placed somewhere else where they can use shine and thrive. I am going to give them a little bit of a trim before I plant them, but other than that, I am not going to be keeping anything else from here. As I am removing all of the plants here, I am trying to leave as much good soil without any roots as possible in the containers because I am going to be adding a lot of potting mix to them. But if I can reuse the soil that is already here, it helps me because these containers are huge. To give you an idea, I had about 3 full bags of potting mix available to use for these containers, and at the end I almost used all of them, all 3 bags, just to refill them, just to add the new plants. So they are big. These corten steel planters are really huge. They are about 26 inches or so tall and wide, and they definitely use soil. So trying to leave as much soil as possible as I am cleaning the plants away from the containers is always key for me. I am trying to add a little bit of height to the center of the containers with the plants that I'm using, but also I am giving them a little bit of a push using these black containers. I don't remember what I had in these containers originally, but they were definitely saved from some of the plants that I purchased for my garden. And before I even start placing the plants where I think that I want them, I am just adding a bunch of potting mix, but I'm also going to be adding a little bit of slow release fertilizer. And for the plants that have annual plants, I do this from the beginning. I either add powder slow release fertilizer or these little balls that add nutrients and fertilizer to the soil at the very beginning. The trellises that you're seeing here are from Menards. They are not super expensive either. I got 2 of them, 1 for each planter, but you can also find them on Amazon. They are a little bit more expensive on Amazon for some reason, but if you have a Menards locally, check them out. I do love Menards. If you have been following my channel for a while, you know that I love to go to Menards and just find all kinds of goodies. The plants that I am going to be using for these containers are a combination of things that I started from seed and things that I purchased at my local garden nurseries. And I like to start with a bunch of them. I like to have options as I put my plants together. And let me show you all of the ones that made it at the end. I start by placing the plants where I think that I want them, and I change my mind really quickly. I really take my time at the beginning, just kind of placing the plants where I think that I want them. These plants are going to grow tall. The dahlias, the cannas, the verbena bonariensis are probably the tallest plants that I am using here. So those are the ones that I am going to be concentrated in the center. Hopefully the obelisks will be a nice support, but if I need to attach some of the dahlias or some of the cannas to the trellis, then I have them available and I have them close. Again, I changed my mind of how I place all of these things, and while I do have a general idea of how these planters are going to look in the middle of summer, I just place them where I think they're going to do well, and as long as I have an idea of how big the plants get, or how tall in this case the plants get, then I can just place them where I think they're going to perform well. Now, because I have two planters, I just want to make sure that as I place these plants where they're going to be, I do want to make sure that I have plenty of the same variety for the other planter. I don't want to use all of my dahlias here. I don't want to use all of my verbena bonariensis here. So as I am working with the plants, placing them around the planters, I am keeping an eye on how many of that variety or of that color I have left to kind of mimic the same idea on the other side. I really do love all the colors that I have going on here. The whites, the reds, the yellows, and that mighty mosaic coleus. It happens to be my favorite coleus, and I really think that it's going to play really well at the end with all of the colors that I have. Normally when you see planters, you see all the plants around the planter evenly. If you have coleus, you'll see coleus all around the planter, but I really like to play with the idea of having that plant grow on one side. I know this coleus is going to get really big, and I know that I can take pruning really well. So I am choosing to place it on one side of the planter instead of making it go all around. And that works for me because these planters are next to my front steps. And that way the coleus is just kind of frame each side of the steps nicely. And I am going to be doing the same thing for the other planter on the other side. I'm going to place the coleus on the opposite side of the steps. And I think that it's going to work out really well. I'm actually really happy at the size of these coleus, you guys. I started them from seed at the beginning of February, and they grew and grew and grew. I honestly can't remember how many times I potted them up, but they are doing really well. I have plenty of these guys, and I also had another coleus in the lime green color that I decided not to use. I am really happy right now that I decided not to use it in these planters, because I think that all of the plants that I am using here, all of the plants that I got for these planters for the front, for the south facing of the house, they're working really well. At this point, I do not have any irrigation set up for these planters. The planters are somewhat new to the front of the house. As I mentioned before in many of my videos, we live in a fixer-upper. In the front of the house, the steps, the front porch has been definitely a work in progress throughout the years that we have been in this house. And last year, finally, I was able to get some things going on here after my husband redid the front. And these planters are new. I don't have any irrigation. I plan to water these plants by hand. I don't think that they're going to get really dry. While the planters are made of corten steel, the planters are huge, so they are not small containers. They're definitely going to hold water and moisture well. So I'm thinking that if I give these planters water at least 2 times a week, they're going to be just fine. And I might have to do more than that through the very hot season that we have here in central Indiana, but I am very, very okay with that. Get back, guys, sir.